Hello students, today we will start with our chapter 1 of civics on equality. This chapter is very simple and it is totally based on small stories. There will be 3 to 4 stories. So listen all the stories carefully. Chapter is very easy. So by the end of chapter you will be able to answer following questions. What is equality? Why does equality matter? What is equality in Indian democracy? So the explanation of the chapter will start with the quotation of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Who is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar? You must be knowing Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is known as the father of Indian Constitution. Why? Because he was the man who drafted the Indian Constitution along with the drafting committee. Who is known as father of Indian Constitution? Dr. Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar. Why? Because he was the man who drafted the Indian Constitution along with the drafting committee. He said, self-respect as the most vital factor in life, without which man was cipher. Nothing is more disgraceful for a brave man to live a life devoid of self-respect. Now, self-respect is the most vital factor. Most important factor. Without which man was cipher. Cipher means zero. Nothing is more disgraceful for a brave man to live a life devoid of self-respect. Devoid means without self-respect. So he focused on self-respect. Now the Constitution. The Constitution of India guarantees equality to all the citizens, yet there is grave inequality among the people of India. Now these equalities may be between rich and poor, educated and illiterate, high caste and low caste. Although the government has launched several programs to bridge the inequalities, but very little has been achieved. In order to bring about a positive change, public awareness is very much necessary. Inequality exists in various degrees in several democratic countries, in many democratic countries. But equality is very important aspect in a democracy, and its functioning depend upon people's participation. Now, when I use the word people participation, what does it mean? What is people participation? People participation is in democracy. What is democracy? Democracy is the government of the people, by the people, for the people. So everywhere there is a participation of people. They are saying democracy is the government of the people, by the people. Who elect them? People. Who is electing government? Who is making government? People. For whom the government is made? For people. So what is democracy? Democracy is the government of the people, by the people and for the people. India is a democratic country. You can see this image. There are number of people standing in a queue. You can see the diversity in the queue. This man is tying a turban, so he is from Sikh community. This person resembles to be from Hindu community. In the same way, you can see there are female also standing in the same queue. So this is called diversity. People from different people, they are from different gender, they are from different religions, still they are standing in the same queue to give vote. This is called people's participation in democracy, in government. Now who give us this right? Who give us right to vote? Now who can go for voting? You can go for voting. What is your age? Can you go for your voting? So the answer is no. Why? Universal adult franchise gives the right to vote to all adult citizens. Students, here the point, there is a word adult citizen. Now who is adult? A person whose age is 18 or above 18. He is considered to be an adult citizen. You are citizen of our country. I am citizen of India. I can go for vote. your age is less than 18, you cannot go for vote. So what is the basic condition you should have? Your age should be 18 or above 18. UAF, Universal Adult Franchise, gives the right to vote to all adult citizens regardless of wealth, income, gender, social status, race or any other restriction. Means they can be rich, poor, they can be male or female, so it hardly matters. Means not hardly, it does not matter. The only condition which they should fulfill, that is the age should be 18 or above 18. Now universal adult franchise is in practice in India since the first general elections. First general election held in 1952. You should know this. So when did first general election held? First general election held in 1952, 21st February 1952. In a democratic country like India, all adults, irrespective of what religion they belong to, how much education they had, what caste they are, or whether they are rich or poor, are given the right to vote, which is called universal adult franchise. So in simple ways, universal adult franchise gives political equality to the people. Please, this is very important. We are doing, this chapter is about equality. Now UAF gives us which equality? Universal adult franchise gives political equality. We can participate in political activities, like we can go for vote. Political equality, every citizen, whether the person is whether he is a man who collects garbage from your home or a president, everybody has right to vote. But UAF does not ensure social and economic equality. So for social and economic equality, we have some other articles. Okay, now I'll start story 1. First story is based on Rama Devi. Rama Devi. Who was Rama Devi? Rama Devi was a domestic worker. Rama Devi, who is a domestic helper in the house of Ramesh Ahuja's. On the election day, she goes to the polling booth. See this. Now this is the election day and she is on polling booth here. So what happened? There she saw that Ramesh Ahuja is also standing in the same line where she is standing. Both are standing in the same line, waiting for their turn to cast vote. Now you see here, now let us do a small comparison or small conclusion. Let's take it out. Rama, who is a domestic worker, she is also in the same line. Ramesh Ahuja and his wife, they are also in the same line and they are waiting for their turn to cast vote. Both master and servant can cast his or her vote. Both are equal, no matter one is rich or other is poor. Both have right to vote, no matter if one is male and other is female. So who gave this right to us? Universal Adult Franchise, UAF. Okay, now what happened next day? Next day she goes back to, she followed the same routine. She went to Ramesh Ahuja's house for work. After spending whole day there, before leaving for the day, she asked some amount of money from her owner, from Ramesh Ahuja's family. The reason, Rama Devi's daughter was not fine, she was sick. Why she used to get frequently sick? The reason, because Rama Devi, she lived in a slum area which is not clean, very dirty. Moreover, there was a drainage system nearby her where she was living her hut. So her daughter was sick, so she asked for some amount of money from Ramesh Ahuja's, and Ramesh Ahuja, they gave money to her, Rama Devi. But after giving money, they said to Rama, take the money but don't make it as a habit. Rama Devi was very disappointed, but she left the house without speaking even a single word. Now next day, she was in hospital. Next day she was in hospital. Now here in hospital, what she noticed, the same evening, Rama Devi was standing in another queue with her sick daughter. This time round, she is waiting to show her sick daughter to a doctor in a government hospital. Had she been rich, she could have gone to a private nursing home where there is less crowd, or she could have called a doctor home. Now you see, she is standing in a queue in a government hospital where is a big crowd. It is taking too much time to take the medicine. If she is thinking here, if she could have more money, if she could be rich, she could have gone to another private hospital, or doctor also can come to her home. So she took the medicine, and it took lot of time. She went back to home. Her daughter was still not fine. So next day she was bit late for her work. When she went back to her work next day, by afternoon, the Ramesh Ahuja and his wife, they scolded her for being late. Now students, you see here the difference. Both of them are human beings, but there is vast inequality between two of them. If we talk about the day of election, they are both are standing, they rich and poor, they are standing in the same queue. No discrimination, no difference. If we talk about a government hospital, there is a difference. She has to wait for a long for her turn for long time. So this discrimination, this is one inequality which actually exists in our society. Students, there is one quotation that I used it in starting also, that Indian Constitution says each and every citizen of India has equal rights. See, but we have equal rights, but students, there is a difference between the theory and practical. Theoretically, Rama Devi and Ahuja both have equal rights. So when they are standing in a they are standing in on the day of election, they are standing in a same queue, they have equal right, yes. But next day, when the case is of government hospital, there is inequality. So practically it does not exist. Now see this comparison. See the conditions. Ramesh Ahuja and Rama Devi. Occupation. Ramesh Ahuja is a businessman. Rama Devi is a domestic servant. Ramesh Ahuja lives in big and clean house. Rama Devi lives in small and dingy house. Surroundings. Ramesh Ahuja open and clean. Rama Devi dirty. Drain near her house. Status. Ramesh Ahuja is rich and Rama Devi is poor. Now this is what? The discrimination based on their economic status, whether they are rich or poor. second story is on Om Prakash Valmiki. Om Prakash Valmiki was a Dalit child. Students, people in India, they experience many other kind of inequalities. The most facing inequality imposed by the caste system. We shall read the story of Om Prakash Valmiki, a Dalit who as a child was made to sweep the classroom and school compound by the headmaster. The reason why? Because he was from a lower caste. Headmaster used to say him to clean the classroom, to clean the ground, to sweep the ground. The reason only he is from lower caste, so the headmaster never allowed Om Prakash Valmiki to sit in the grade. He used to sit out from the grade and study from there only. Whereas other students, those who were from upper caste, they used to sit in the grade and study. Om Prakash Valmiki was made to sit at the back of the classroom, right near the door. He had to sit on the floor without even mat. He was made to sweep the classroom, the school and the playground for a couple of days. He was not even allowed to drink water from the common tap. Now you see, this mystery came to an end only when his father happened to see him. He saw him sweeping the ground. Then he confronted the headmaster and said, My child will study in the same school one day. He will sit with other students, and this is not the end. My child will not the last child. Many more students will come from lower caste and they will get right to sit in the classroom and to study. This boy wrote an autobiography, Jutan. This is very famous autobiography. Name of the biography is Jutan. Om Prakash Valmiki's autobiography tells us about the shocking experiences as a Dalit boy. Now you see, first discrimination was based on their economic status. Second discrimination or inequality was based on the caste, lower caste and upper caste. Now third story is on Mr. and Mrs. Qureshi. Mr. and Mrs. Qureshi. Let's find this case also. They also faced inequality. Now Mr. and Mrs. Qureshi, who were refused a house after Mr. and Mrs. Qureshi was refused a house after house over a month. The reason they used to eat non-vegetarian. They were non-vegetarian, but they actually want a house in a big colony. So whenever they went to rent a house, so they never allowed them to give them house for rent. The reason, they eat non-vegetarian. They were refused because they were non-vegetarian. Though they had money, they were refused a house because of their religion. Now, which was their name? It hardly matters what money they have at that time. At that point, their money, their economic status even did not matter. What mattered? Their religion. So there are small cases. Because of these cases, because of these parameters, inequality exists. Now what happened? Okay, let's come back to the story. What happened? The property dealer who was assisting Mr. and Mrs. Qureshi, the dealer told Mr. and Mrs. Qureshi that, Mr. Qureshi, you can change your surname just to rent a house. You just simply say, I am Mr. and Mrs. You can keep your name as Mr. and Mrs. Kumar. So look how difficult it is to change name. Mr. and Mrs. Qureshi, they did not agree to this suggestion and were put to much inconvenience. Because why they were not ready to change their name? It was hurting their self-respect, their dignity. If somebody will say you to change your name because it does not match my personality or you are not from my religion, you have to change your name, how bad it will look. The same way, Mr. and Mrs. Qureshi's dignity was hurt. This is the third case. Now in this case, inequality was based on their religion, because of their religion. Now if we recognize the dignity means self-respect. People are treated unequally because of their caste, religion, social status and gender. Om Prakash and Qureshi do not deserve to be treated unequally, because being bona fide citizen of democratic country, democratic India, they have right to be treated equally. They deserve self-respect and dignity as everyone else. To be treated unequally is a direct violation of one's right. So the Qureshi's dignity and self-respect made them refuse changing their name. Okay, next topic is provisions in Indian Constitution. Number 1, all people are equal before law. All people are equal before law. It means that every person, be the president, every person, whether he is a president or a domestic worker, he has to obey the same laws. Number 2, no one can be discriminated against on the basis of his or her caste, religion, place of birth, property, gender and etc. Number 3, every person is allowed free access to public places such as hotels, playgrounds, markets, public well and roads. Number 4, untouchability has been abolished. Abolished means finished. It is over now. Untouchability has been abolished. Now a person of an upper caste system cannot claim to be polluted by the touch of Dalit or Harijan or a member of scheduled caste and tribe. So these are the provisions which lay down in Indian Constitution. Now, the government has launched many programs and schemes to improve the lives of disadvantaged communities. Disadvantaged community means minorities or the people, those who are from lower caste. Even women also come under disadvantaged communities. Besides, there are laws in force which guarantee this constitutional right to equality. A major step which is taken by the government in order to promote equality is the midday meal scheme. Midday meal scheme. What is midday meal? Midday meal scheme refers to the program introduced in all the government elementary schools to provide children with cooked lunch, food. The first state to do so was Tamil Nadu in 2001. Now what is midday meal scheme? Midday meal scheme where in schools students are provided with cooked lunch, with food. And which state started it first? Tamil Nadu in 2001. Now what were the benefits, or what are the benefits of midday meal scheme? Number 1, increased attendance in school. What does it mean, increased attendance in school? More and more students, they have started enrolling and attending school because of this scheme. Now kids have started, poor people have started thinking that their child will get at least food in the school. So they started sending their child in school for meal. So once they are sitting for the meal, they has to attend some classes. So in this way, increased attendance in school. Number 2, better concentration in studies. When the poor student, they are not hungry, they can concentrate more and they can study better in the schools. Number 3, it improved literacy level of the country. Literacy level means number of people, those who are literate, padhe likhe in your country. Okay, now our next topic is civil rights movements. civil right movement. The civil right movement was a struggle for social justice that took place mainly during the 1950 and 1960s for black Americans to gain equal rights under the law in the United States. By the mid 20th century, black Americans had more than enough of prejudice and violence against them. Prejudice means having a negative thought, and violence against them. What is civil right movement? In simple words, civil right movement is what? Actually, it was a kind of a racial discrimination. This is a kind of, you can say, stigma. This stigma of lower caste, upper caste was not only in India alone. Such social discriminations has been prevalent in many other powerful countries. Like example is of United States of America, where people of African American, the people of the African American region, they were often looked down upon by white Americans. White people, they always make the black people inferior. They never give them chance to speak. So they were, in many ways, they were treated unequally. They were discriminated. Discrimination, like for example, the black people, they were never allowed to visit the same parks where white can go. They were not allowed to go in the same shops where whites are going. Their kids were black people, their kids were not allowed to study in the same school where white kids are going. So these kind of small discrimination, the inequalities were very prevalent in this country. So it was a kind of a racial discrimination based on color, black and white. So you can see this, I have collected some images for you. You can see here, like, see how they are illiterating the black people. You can see here, this is also a very how they're humiliating black people. Now you see this, there is a waiting room. See, they have clearly mentioned, white people have mentioned it, waiting room for white only, by order police department. Now you see how, at what level inequality was prevalent there. By police department, that only, it is only for white people. Now you see this restaurant, we serve whites only. See, we serve whites only, not Spanish or Mexican. So these are some images I collected for you to show you what kind of discrimination the people were facing there. Now with the civil right movement, this kind of this racial discrimination, there is a story of Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks. In 1950s, when African Americans were allowed only to sit at the back of the buses, were forced to stand up and offer their seat to the white Americans. So this is a kind of one inequality, one discrimination. Was what it is, means in a bus, black people cannot sit on front seats. Only last one line is reserved for black people. That also, suppose the bus is full and last line black people are sitting, if any white is stepping in the bus, they have to stand and they have to offer their seat to the white person. Such kind of discrimination was followed in that country. In such situation, this lady Rosa Parks, you can see this image. Rosa Parks, an African American, she refused to stand up on 1st December 1955. She was sitting in a bus on the seat. Once a white American, he stepped in the bus, he told her to stand, but she refused to stand up. The date was 1st December 1955, because she was tired and felt insulted at the humiliation. Her small action gave rise to a huge movement, which came to be known as the Civil Rights Movement. Later, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 banned this discrimination on the basis of race, religion and national origin in USA. Now I hope this is clear to you, the story of Rosa Parks, that how this, her one action against the violation, her one action against the humiliation has changed the life of other black people. So this is important. Article 15, as we are studying about Article 15. We are studying about equality. So for that, Article 15 is important. Article 15 of the Constitution states that no citizen of India shall be discriminated on the basis of religion, race, caste, sex or place of birth. However, the state may make any social provisions for women and children. As I told you, women are also considered to be in the disadvantaged society, disadvantaged community. So what does Article 15 guarantees? Article 15 guarantees equality to all the citizens of India. It also states that no individual can be discriminated on the basis of religion, race, caste, sex or place of birth. No individual can be considered untouchable, achut. And it also ensures every individual equally access to it. It also ensures that every individual can have equal access to all the public facilities. So this was your last topic in today's lecture, Article 15. So what we studied today, once I will sum up. So chapter is based on 4 stories. First story was inequality based on economic status. Second was inequality based on caste. Third was inequality based on religion. And then there is a story of Rosa Parks. It is based on their race, on their color. So how people struggled for inequality, how people struggled for equality to get their rights. So this is the end of the lecture. If kids will be having doubts, so more doubts will be cleared in your Zoom class. Thank you.